A few months ago, I had the privilege of addressing an audience on a platform called TEDx, where immediately after me the speaker was Dr. Kiran Bedi. Now there for about 20 minutes we made a presentation on what is our dream of Keep Moving movement. At the end of it, when Dr. Kiran Bedi went up the dais, he said, I'm really inspired by the work that Narendra is doing. And she went on to mention at least 4 times, either that the work we are doing is inspirational, or the work that we are doing is very original. For us it was a very fulfilling moment, because somebody of the stature of Dr. Kiran Bedi, when she acknowledges the work, the dream that we have, it means that we are on the right path. She also asked me, can I speak in Hindi? Because she wanted to invite me to Delhi for me to conduct a few programs there. Exactly a week ago, last Tuesday, somewhere around 10 PM in the night, we met former President Dr. A.P.J.
Wow.
And we made the presentation of Keep Moving movement to him. And he said, we should take it up at the ministry level. We should take it up with all the directors of every board in this country. And his opinion was that every school should have this as a part of their curriculum on an everyday basis. It was a very thrilling experience for a few of us who were fortunate enough to be there. There was a large group of people who wanted to go, but we were only 4 of us who were allowed to meet him. When somebody of that stature says the work that you are doing should be as a part of the curriculum of every classroom in every school of this country, it certainly means that we are moving ahead in the right direction. So all of us together are in the right direction, putting the best efforts possible by each one of us. Let's do our work brilliantly well, so that we can actually achieve what we have set out to achieve through Keep Moving movement, and that is to make a difference to thousands of lives. From various schools, we have also been getting feedbacks regularly about the kind of impact that the sessions are having on the students. From some schools, we have got reports of the processes, Soham, creating a beautiful impact on the children. And it seems the naughtiest of children are also turning around and becoming very attentive inside the classroom. Today's session is going to be a little different from whatever we have done so far. Today, I am not going to talk for 2 hours. Today, enough of you are going to talk so that we can be occupied for 2 hours. Today, my talking will be a little less. But before we go into that, some schools have requested, can we take the processes a little deeper in the children? Now Soham is happening. Now after Soham or before Soham, can something else be done so that we can take the sessions beautifully and in deep to people? Now there are 2 suggestions that I have. One is something which has been done in a school, so we learn from that school and I am passing it on to you. I am becoming the medium for that to pass on to all of you. In one school, what a teacher is doing is, she's asking all of them to close their eyes. And then she says, imagine that you are a banyan tree. There are hundreds of birds which have taken shelter in you. There are millions of insects, butterflies which are fluttering around you. Imagine that there are a few children who are playing under your shade. There are also a few girls who have created that swing and are having a beautiful time because of you. Now imagine, because of you, some people in this world are enjoying a lot of happiness. And with this, then she says, okay, now let's shift our focus on the breathing. And from there, she takes them on to Soham. I thought this was really beautiful. What do you say? Yes. Nice, insightful, simple, and really beautiful. Which means right in the beginning, if I can make somebody believe that you are a source of joy to enough out there, I automatically move to a zone of peace. And from there, if I do so, I'm sure it will take us deeper. There is another thing which I think we can do to take the experience a little deeper. And it will also help the children, not only in school and in the classroom, but also in their overall living. I believe it will also work on the character and the ethics of a person. What is it that we want to do? There is a particular kind of prayer which I think has the power to transform people. It's just a method by which somebody gets ready for prayers. Has anyone over here heard about 5-finger prayers? The teachers, anybody 5-finger prayers? No? Okay, I'll show you how to do that 5 finger. Have you? Okay, beautiful. Now what is a 5-finger prayer? All of us know what is a Namaste. So do a Namaste with your hands. Now in this Namaste there are 5 fingers attached if we take the thumb also to be a finger. And this is how we get ready for the prayers. Every finger has its own significance. They are just not 5 of them put together, but each finger in a combination has a significance. Now what is the significance? When we pray, first the prayer should be for the thumb. Now what does the thumb mean? Thumb signifies people who are closest to us. Thumb is the closest to us when we pray. So when we start praying, first let's pray for people who are very, very close to us. People whom we love, people whose joy creates joy in us, people when they are sad, it makes us feel sad. People for whose success we pray, and people whose success creates excitement in our life. Now each one of us must have some people who are very, very close to us. So first pray for people who are very, very close to you. Then comes this finger, which is also called as the pointing finger. Now this finger is the finger that we use to point out things, isn't it? In your life, you would have met enough people who have guided you. People who helped you. It can be your teachers. It can be a relative. It can be a friend. It can be a neighbor. It can be your own parents. Second, when you pray for people who have pointed the right direction to you. People who have always guided you. Third, now you don't have to write down. We are going to give a printout today which includes everything that I am about to discuss. Even this 5-finger prayer is there in the printout. So today you don't have to write notes. Congratulations. Third finger is also the tallest finger. It is the biggest finger. There are some people in this world who live life selflessly. Their life is not for themselves. Their life is for the cause, for the sake of others. Now these people are tall people. Right from, let's say, a soldier who stands on the border at -40 degrees, ensuring that no terrorist enters our country. Now he is ready to give his life so that you and me can sleep peacefully in the night. Now they stand tall. While for most of us our life is about me, you, my family, there are some people who have gone beyond this me, myself and my family. They want to live a selfless life. They dedicate their life to a cause. Say for example, those honest police officers who chase and run behind criminals at the cost of, the risk of loss of life and precious belongings in the hand of those very criminals. Imagine if those police officers were not there. In case we are victimized, where do we turn to? These are tall people. Those people who fight against injustice, not because injustice is happening to them, but they find injustice and they believe they have to raise a voice. For example, some of you may believe Anna Hazare is one such person. Personally, he has nothing to gain. But he believes that India should be a corruption-free country. So there will be some people who are living their life tall. Maybe you and me don't have the courage to stand and fight next to them. Maybe we don't have means to give them support. The least that we can do is to pray for them. Because the saying is, जब दवा काम नहीं आती है तब. So when everything else will fail, maybe my prayers will work for them. So the third time when I pray for people who live a very tall life. The fourth is this finger, which is also called as the weakest finger. If any one of you has ever attempted to learn music, especially let's say piano or harmonium, now the teacher will tell you this is the weakest finger, hence the work of this finger is the least. For some reason, this is also the finger in which we wear the ring. Ring finger? I'm just joking, you don't have to take it seriously. The idea is that ring you will become strong, not the other way around. Next, when I pray for those people who are weak in this world. Say for example, monsoons are on and all of us have a good home to go back and stay. But there are enough people on the platforms of the railway station who used to sleep out there in the open, and in the monsoons, what do they do with their life? There are enough people who are staying very close to the ghats, and every year they have to get dislodged from there because monsoons are there. I went to the burns ward of Sachin Hospital a long time back, a few years back, and I found a woman dying because she does not have 500 rupees to apply antiseptic cream on her body. Her son was sitting there on his hunches, and he also couldn't afford 500 rupees. There was no 500 rupees. All he could do is sit and watch his mother die. Weak. While many of us will get enough opportunities to succeed in life, there are quite a few people who may not get the first opportunity also to succeed in their life. There are enough people in this world who right now are going through tremendous weakness. Maybe somebody who has sickness in their body, no fault of theirs. They also need our prayers. So the fourth thing that we do is, we pray for those people who are weaker than us. Maybe somebody who's not educated. Maybe somebody who doesn't have a moral support. Maybe somebody who doesn't have a single friend with whom they can be transparent. Anybody who's weaker than us. And then the last finger, the smallest finger, is for ourselves. Having prayed for people who are very close to us, having prayed for people who have guided us, having prayed for people who stand tall, having prayed for people who are weaker than us, only then we pray for ourselves, not otherwise. Now this is called the 5-finger prayers. Now make it a part of daily routine, make it a part of your school prayers. But I believe if you sincerely do the prayers, if you really imagine those people, if you bring them to the present, your relationship with the Almighty will really improve. You will become more honest, more sincere, more grounded. And you will stop begging with God. Now, most of our prayers is about begging. मेरे को ये दे, मेरे को ये दे, मेरे को ये दे. And suddenly you will find your prayers will change. Because you realize people have much less than you. So that beggary will stop. And probably gracefulness will start coming. Now today's session, as I have told twice already, which I will tell at least a couple of more times, is going to be a little different. But today's session will be more or less conducted by you. We are going to have a series of question answers based on certain things that we have printed and given to you. Based on that, the entire session will be concluded. Now this session will require you to do some drama and some acting in the class. So are you ready? What, only 3 teachers are saying yes? Yes. Dum ही नहीं audience में. Yes. Dum नहीं उसको yes. पहले वाले को. See, you have to entertain. Today this whole world is about entertainment. The songs which move is about entertainment. The books that sell is about entertainment. The newspapers which publishes reports are all about entertainment. And if you think without entertaining the class you can get connected to all of them, it's wishful thinking. It's a thinking which had been relevant one generation ago, but not today. Today, you have to play with them. You have to get involved with them. You have to act with them. So the beginning of the session, after if you choose to do this 5-finger prayers, is a little bit of acting. Are you ready for some acting?
Yes, sir.
One strong voice. She is 100% going to do it. So she is not acting. Others who are saying yes softly are acting. They have begun. With time they will also come in the right zone. What is this acting all about? You are going to scare the children. Or some children will start seeing you as an intelligent person after this acting. Ensure you have this class in the absence of the principal. Otherwise, she might throw you out of school. All other sessions, let the principal be there, no issues. In this, if the principal is there, give her advance information. Okay, ma'am, please don't suffer a heart attack. I am going to do some drama and that is not what I mean at all. So, are you ready for that?
Yes.
What you want to do in the class is, you are going to begin the class with a lot of frustration. You will act as if you are totally fed up. In case you are married, think your husband is in the class. Absolutely fed up. Or think that electricity has not come for 7 days and your housemaid is also not turning up. There is no food in the house and the whole city has strike. Now in that scenario, we will be a little fed up. With that kind of a face and that kind of a mood, you have to start the session. Think about what creates that feeling of fed up inside you. Now that is exactly what you have to feel and you look at the children. Let them see and feel your frustration. Then what is it that you are going to say? You are going to say that you are fed up of this education system. You will say, studying is a fool's job. You will say, intelligent people will not waste their life studying. You will give them enough examples about how studying in this context, in this country, is a waste of time. You will say how uneducated ministers push around the most educated IAS officer from here to there. So what will happen to your life if you study well? Become an IAS officer and then what? Kick around here and there? Studying is a waste of time. I tell you, some people will start believing today is the first time you have been intelligent. Now what will you do? You will give them a few examples. Say for example, Dhirubhai Ambani never studied. But he went on to become the richest man. And he employs MBAs and engineers. Chartered accountants get employed by him in hundreds and thousands. Uneducated fellow went on to have every minister in his pocket, the whole government over here. Sometimes he would forget left pocket or right pocket. But somewhere it is there. Maybe on chore pocket also over here. You tell them about Bill Gates, college dropout. Richest man for the longest time after Andrew Carnegie. Steve Jobs, Apple Computers. College dropout again. And his company today has about 5 lakh crore of surplus money. They don't know what to do with it. Only 5 lakh crores. You feel like asking him for 1 day's interest which they get from the bank, that will be enough for the rest of our life. College dropout. So why should you and me study? Tell them it's such a useless job. People who graduate from the school will go on to make a career. Somebody will become an engineer, doctor, earn a lot of money. What are we teachers going to do? You're teaching 7th standard means next 25 years you'll teach only the 7th standard. What career development? Out of 50 teachers, one might become a principal. Others, principally they will be there with the principal. What kind of frustrating life for you? And an absolute frustrating life for the students. Tell them, stop studying, go home here. Don't come to school from tomorrow. Watch their face. Some of them will be shocked. What has happened to this student? She might ask, are you going for a divorce? And some people will say, ये अपना हाथ से फटेगा. सही है, इसमें बुद्धि आ गया. That's why I said, don't have this class with the principal over there. Or if you have it with the principal, please tell them, ma'am, I don't mean anything that I am saying. It is just for the sake of a drama. Having said that, there will be a commotion inside the classroom. Children will not remain silent. They will start talking to each other because they are not ready for this kind of a thing. Then tell them, okay, looks like a few of you are not convinced. Let's have a debate inside the classroom. Those of you who believe you should study, sit over here. Those of you who believe you don't want to study, sit over here. Let's have a debate in the class. Why should we study and why we should not study? What is the uselessness of studying and what is the usefulness of studying? Don't give them time to move from here and there. Immediately take a step and say, okay, those on my right are going to speak for it, those on my left are going to speak against it. Now let's have a debate. One person from each side will speak, 5 people from each side will speak. At the end of it, we'll take a decision. Should we continue to be in the school or not? Let both sides make 1 point each. So they speak about 1 point, then this speaks about 1 point, why I should study, why I should not study, why I should study, why I should not study. At the end of it, scratch your head and say, now listening to you, I have a small confusion. What's my confusion? My confusion is this. Dhirubhai Ambani did not study and he made it very big, very rich. If he actually thought studies is not necessary, then why did he educate his children? Yes. Right? If I think studies is not necessary, why should I educate my child? If I think something is not necessary for my child, why should I give it to my child? And both his children are postgraduates, not just graduates. Which means, somewhere Dhirubhai Ambani would have realized, if without studies I can make it so big in life, with studies I would have made it even bigger. Now this is the googly that you play in the class, with which you have everybody's attention on the need to study well in life. So we are not taking a session by motivating them, come on, study well, your future is great. Now that directly probably switches a lot of them off. They are not even listening to you when you are saying those things. But when you take them through this googly, they are animated, they are involved, all their attention is inside the class. They want to know what's happening. Now this is pure entertainment. And through entertainment, enlightenment. Through entertainment, you make a point, hit things on the nail. And for this, then why did he make his children study? You will answer. Then why did he surround himself with very capable people who have extensively studied? Somewhere he would have realized without studies he is a little weak. You take the best companies in the world and they hire the best brains from every college in the world. So Apple does not hire only uneducated people, does it? Steve Jobs does not say, I am a college dropout, so in my company only college dropouts will work. All those of you who have studied don't even apply. He says, those of you who are excellent, who are studying well, please apply. And I will take in the best from every college, not the second best. Which means even if they have dropped out, because many children have this explanation. He is rich, he did not study, I will also be like that only. You know, Mullah Nasruddin was once drinking and he was about to go totally into intoxication and fell off. One friend approached Mullah Nasruddin and said, you are a devout Muslim, in Islam it's written that drink and you should go to hell. Why are you drinking? And Mullah says, see, I am applying the first part. Because I am ready only for that right now. Second part, whenever I grow up in life, I'll apply that. Similarly, some of the children have taken only first part of the life of these great people that they did not study. But they did not take the second part of their life, which was they surrounded themselves with extraordinary people who were exceptional students in various universities, in various colleges. Good studies creates a beautiful future for you. It creates a fantastic starting point for you. The entire session, the third session, is about how do I excel inside the classroom? How do I excel in my studies? And when I do well in my studies, what does it do to me? We will give the printouts to all of you now. I'm going to stop explaining right now. You will read the printouts. Now this is a new method of teaching. This is getting tremendous popularity in the world. When the teacher does not come and explain the entire chapter, she says, read the chapter, I am there, if you have any doubts, ask. If you have no doubts, means you have already understood, why to waste my life? So I am going to spread those sheets to you, read it, wherever you don't understand, mark it, and then when I ask you, okay, which point do you want explanation to? If you raise your hands and ask me, I will tell you, otherwise, I will go home to my wife, she's waiting for me. Can you please? Yes, it's very interesting. What is this AVH? A stands for auditory, V stands for video, and H stands for haptic. Now please write it down, then I will explain.
Please repeat it.
A for auditory, AUDITORY. Auditory as in audio, listening, ears. V stands for video, that is seeing, sight. And H stands for haptic, HAPTIC. Now this is a new generation phenomena, haptic. This was not there earlier. This is a new generation phenomena. Okay, auditory, video, haptic written down. Now two senses inputs is the ears and the eyes. Most of us have a tendency to learn through audio or video. Most of us who are teachers have also grown up in life learning through audio and video. Audio and video means I learn through listening or I learn through watching. Now most of us have one dominant path of learning. It's not that anybody is exclusively audio or video, but one dominates, one plays a major role. So people who are used to learning through audio, when you explain to them, they understand. You show them something, it's not very clear to them. But if you tell them something, they listen effectively. These people are also very sensitive people. Video, on the other hand, are people who have to visualize, who have to see for them to understand. For example, if you have to give somebody directions to your house, if that person is video in nature, and you explain, काम करना, तू right सीधा जाके second right है वो ले लेना, उसके बाद में एक मंदिर आएगा, मंदिर से थोड़ा और आगे जाना, फिर एक वो पेट्रोल पंप आएगा. You say it, they are confused. Now you will need to create a map for them and give it to them. When you create a map and give it, now they say, अच्छा अभी समझ में आया. So people who are visual in nature, fortunately or unfortunately, our system and education is more about video, it's more about sight. Those whose dominant path of learning is sight, they understand very fast. So the study is also through sight mode. If you go to US or Europe, for every subject that you have, you also have audio notes. So you can listen and they can learn. Now people who are auditory in nature, you will find if they have to read something, they also speak it for them to learn. Unless they say it, they are not able to learn. So these are the people who will have to speak about Akbar was one of the greatest Mughal kings in India. Now they just read it, they will not be able to comprehend it very well. For them to learn, they have to say it. Now look at the unfortunate event which happens. Let's say a mother is auditory in nature. She has learned by speaking aloud. And let's say the child is visual in nature. Child is able to see and learn. But mommy from there says, जोर से पढ़ो. Child is saying, क्यों? मेरे को मालूम है कैसे पढ़ाई करता है. पूरा बचपन में मैं क्लास में फर्स्ट आती थी, जोर जोर से पढ़ गया, तू भी पढ़. Now this fellow is able to learn well. Now he speaks loudly and he gets distracted. Because he just needs sight. So it is crucial for children to understand what is the dominant method through which they are learning. It is crucial for teachers to understand. Therefore, some children need an explanation by voice. Some will learn only through notes. Have you seen these people? For everything they have to write notes. They won't be able to listen to everything and connect. So some of you over here will be auditory. You are listening and you are taking in it. But some of us have to write, then see. And only then we will learn, not otherwise. So in the class what will also happen? Let's say a child is auditory, Miss is speaking, and the child is listening like this. He is not looking at the teacher. He is like this. Miss says, you stand up. Why? You are not listening to me. Miss, I was listening to you only. Don't argue. You are always arguing. I am fed up of you. Call your parents. This fellow is saying what's wrong. To see, I need my eyes towards you. In fact, my ears are towards you only. Come on. So let's not jump to conclusions that somebody is not paying attention. Maybe their auditory nature, benefit of doubt. If you want to confirm, ask them. Could you learn this? What do you think is the answer to this question? Ask them. If they have the answer, what else do you need? So it's necessary for us to know there are different methods of learning, auditory, video, and what is haptic. Haptic is something which most teachers don't understand. These are children who have to be preoccupied in something else to learn. This is a recent phenomenon. You know, till our time there used to be teenagers, now there are screenagers. Their life rotates around screens. Mobile phone, TV, 3D multiplex, music, video, their entire life is around screens. Now these people sometimes, some of them need a distraction for them to study. So they need loud music in the background. Have you come across some people like that? While I was studying, I used to like pin drop silence. But my eldest daughter wants some music in the background. If it is not there, she can't study. She says it's too silent for me to study. And I used to look at her as a strange specimen. Is she from Earth or Mars? Some of them lead that voice of the TV. It will be surprising to find nowadays some children can study sitting in front of TV. That is going on and they are studying and they are able to take it in. Some people can study only when they are chewing gum. They look like cows sitting in your class. And they are able to take it in. You know, some of them who have to walk for them to study. They can't sit. They have to do something. And doing that something, they bring focus. Strange, but this is a product of the modern world. So next time when somebody is studying like that, initially you might get irritated. Haptic. Now don't start. Hamare zamane mein. It's not relevant. You're not living in your zamana anymore. You're living in their zamana. So therefore these three methods by which children study, just because they don't study by the method in which you or me are comfortable doesn't mean that their method is wrong. We need to upgrade ourselves. Hence, 3 ways to study audio, video and happening. Everybody has a little of each, but one will dominate your personality. So that's AVH. Done?
Yes.
Welcome. Okay, this is the management philosophy that we've taken from Japan, from Kaizen. Let us understand this philosophy and find out how is it relevant to students. First things first, first time right. Now these are all techniques of studies. These are all also approaches to studies. Let's say I have to manufacture this mic. Now this is Shure 058 if I am right. One of the most popular microphones in the whole world. Shure 58. Now this microphone must be costing somewhere close to 9,000 rupees. Now let's say there is one screw which has not been put properly inside this microphone. I use it once and because there is that loose screw, maybe there is earthing, as a result of which there is a mild shock in my hands, I am not able to hold it well and I have to return it to the dealer. Now the dealer has no idea how to rectify it, so he sends it to the manufacturer. In the entire thing, a lot of money is costed. A lot of headaches happen. Which means when that engineer who was supposed to screw it properly did not screw it properly first time right, बाद में देख लेंगे ना, चलेगा ना. The same job has to be done again with a lot of efforts and a waste of resource. Hence in management we say whatever you do it first time right. Don't leave the scope to do it improved next time. So as simple as packing the bag. Do it first time right. Don't say अभी कैसे भी रखते सुबह अच्छे से जमाएंगे. Do it right now. If you have to write notes, I have also been a student and I know so many times I will scribble and I tell myself बाद में fair लिखूंगा. And that बाद में fair never happens. And when exam time comes, I don't understand who has written this notes. And when somebody says तेरा ही लिखा हुआ है, मैं ऐसा लिखा. Disgusted with myself because half the things I am not able to understand. Can I get things right the first time I do? Not the second time, not the third time. When I do it the second or the third time, there is a lot of waste of resources which happens. Say it's as simple as giving instruction to somebody. If you have to delegate a work as teachers to your students, वहाँ जाके देख कैसा है क्या? Now you wanted to call that sir, but your instruction was जाके देख कैसा है क्या? वो जाके वापस आ जाते हैं हाँ सर है. तो किधर आए नहीं आपने बोला था सर है कि नहीं देख क्या मैं देख क्या है सर है देख घरे उनको बुला के. Then he goes there and he is not coming for 20 minutes. Now you are wondering what's happening. Then you send one PO. देख क्या वो आया क्यों नहीं गधा अभी तक? तूने उनको बुला के लाने के लिए बोला था, वो अभी भी बुला रहे हैं, उनकी बात सुन नहीं रहे हैं, वो बाजू में खड़े हैं, वो भी उधर ही खड़ा है. जैसे अरे आके बोलना तो चाहिए था ना, कुछ काम करे. सर आपने क्या बोला था? So if you don't instruct it first time right, imagine the frustration which it causes to you and the delay of your work. The other day I was telling my son Neeraj, we were watching TV, there is a program which goes on called Mentalist in Star or some channel. So I told Neeru, बेटा थोड़ा आवाज कर. Neeru immediately started. Shock, क्या कर रहा है? आप बोले ना आवाज कर. बेटा टीवी का जरा आवाज कर दे बेटा. And he's telling me, Papa, first time right. When you have adult children, you have to be very careful. Be conscious, be a little alert, little effort. Get things right the first time, your life will be very efficient. So when students are writing an exam sheet, first time right can they make it, instead of saying नहीं मैं बाद में revise करेगा ना तो मैं देख लेगा. Revision का time नहीं मिला तो. So that's first time right. What is first things first? What are your priorities? What is more important to you? Do that the first. So if there's a choice between doing your homework and seeing TV, first things should be first. First things means more important things. Always make it as a principle of your life. First things first. Which means your priorities must be very clear to you. What is more important to you? So between going for a marriage function, where anyway if you don't go nothing will happen, they will anyway get married, right? Unless it happens to be your marriage. Somebody else's marriage function. Let's say you decided to meditate and you could not find time to meditate. But नहीं सब लोग मेरा वहाँ wait कर रहे होंगे किसके लिए खाने के लिए. What is more priority to you? Which is higher priority? So let's do first things first. Between friends calling for gossip and mommy asking some help from you at home, what is more important? First things first. First time, right? These two sets a beautiful system to life. If you can just make these two as a part of your life, you will find phenomenal efficiency in your life. So first things first, and first and right. Then tamas cannot exist in you. First things first, and first and right. This is Japanese manufacturing principle, which we have brought into studies. Yes. That's very interesting. It's very simple actually. When I am having to write notes very fast, all I need to do is eliminate the vowels. So for example, if I have to write the word relation, so it will just be RLTN. Instead of writing RELATION. So let me eliminate the vowels and the speed of writing also improves and I am able to see the word also properly. Now that's the beauty of human mind. Even if you take the vowels away, the meanings will still be understood by you, more or less. Even if you don't understand the meaning of a word, you read the word before that and after that, then the relevance becomes very clear, you never miss out. So don't write the vowels, your speed increases by almost 100%. It's simple and very, very effective in taking notes. 50-minute hour. Now that is another interesting thing. This we have got from psychology. Now what psychiatrists do is, they give everybody a meeting time for 1 hour. So first meeting is at 5, then it is at 6, then at 7. The patient who's called at 5, his time does not go till 6. The next patient comes at 6. This patient time ends at 5:50. So what the psychiatrist does is, he creates this concept called 50-minute hour. Which means for the next patient 1 hour is there, but for this patient only 50 minutes. I create this 10 minutes to get ready for the next patient. So in this 10 minutes, I can go to the loo if I want, I can wash my face, I can listen to a song, I can write notes, I can make a call to my wife. If nothing else, take one small power nap for 4-5 minutes. And I become fresh again. The objective of this break is to become fresh for the next activity. Hence it's called 50-minute hour, made popular by psychiatrists all over US, now popularizing in Keep Moving movement. So you tell the students, when they have to study, they should not study for 2.5, 3, 4 hours at a stretch. Let them decide, I will complete this and I will take a break. So it need not be exactly 50-minute hour, that's a concept. It can be 75 minutes and they take a break. It can be 30 minutes and they take a break. But please do tell them the break should not be bigger than the study time. So 50-minute hour should not be 10 minutes of studies and 50 minutes break. Just that break which can give us freshness. So if the child has, let's say, an aquarium at home, in those 10 minutes he can just go lumber up his muscles, walk a little and probably put something in the aquarium, see the fishes swimming around, gives him freshness and let him go back to his studies. If he likes to water the plants, maybe he can go to the small terrace in his house, water the plants, become fresh again and go back to studies. Anything which relaxes the child should be done in this 50-minute hour so that they can focus again on studies. Done?
So what is ballerina?
Stars attract stars. Now let's say if I am a movie actor. Let's say I am any bald actor, you know? Anupam. Okay. I like her. Who's that? Thank you so much. Okay, I'll do with Anupam Kher. Now let's say I am an NIFT graduate, I am one of the best actors of all time, my acting has given me so many rewards in life. I am a star. With whom will I want to work? With another star. I will not like to work with somebody who is not good enough. So stars attract stars. So if Sanjay Leela Bhansali wants Anupam Kher to work, both of them are happy. If Amitabh wants to work with, let's say, Amir Khan, both of them are happy. Because stars are comfortable with each other. Stars attract stars. Now when you study, if you can emerge as a star, you can choose the company with which you want to work. If you are not a star, then you won't attract star companies. Then you have to do with whatever is available. फिर तो लॉट का माल डिस्काउंट से कभी प्रीमियम नहीं मिलेगा. Stars attract star. So study in a way where you emerge as a star. That's what star attracts star means. Coming to ballerina. What is this ballerina all about? Every nation has its culture. And every nation thrives on its culture. See, for example, in India, there are certain dances like Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi, Kathak. Similarly, in Russia, their national dance is the ballet. The dancer who dances in ballet is called ballerina. This is a story about somebody who wanted to be an extraordinary ballerina. She used to stay in a small village in Russia. She had dreams of becoming a top grade ballerina. Many Russian girls from the time they are small children dream of becoming a ballerina. It's a very delicate dance, very graceful dance. It requires a lot of strength and energy. I mean, in ballet dancing, a girl can stand on her toe like this for 5 minutes, just on the toe without this leg. That is the precision and grace and strength that they have. So it's a dream for most girls to become a ballerina. Though she was from a small village, her parents never objected. She will see whatever VCDs, DVDs that she can see. But because she was from a small village, there was no big ballet training school over there. She was still young, and one day the best ballet company in Russia came to perform in their village. She was thrilled to the core. Obviously, she went to see the ballet performance. She was mesmerized. And she wanted to go and meet their teacher, the most important coach, the director of that ballet troupe. This guy was the best ballet teacher in the whole world. Obviously, he was heavily secured. People wouldn't have easy access. Somehow she managed to give the jhansa to the security, and she entered into his room. He's an old guy, about 70 plus. He looked at her and said, "What do you want?" She said, "I'm from this village. Your work is awesome. I've dreamt of being a ballerina my entire life. What do I have to do to join your ballet troupe? Will you please take me as a student?" The teacher said, "Okay, do one thing. Right now I'm very tired and the show is over. There are hundreds of people who want to meet me. How about coming to my room tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock? Do you have your ballet shoes? Special shoes called ballet shoes." She said, "Yeah, I have my ballet shoes and I also have my ballet music." Teacher said, "Okay, bring both of that together." She couldn't sleep the entire night. So excited. I don't want to miss the alarm. In the morning, became fresh, had a light breakfast, pressed the ballet dress, took the ballet shoes, with the music, rushed to the place where the teacher was staying, knocked on the door. This old man opened the door and she said, "Can I come in?" He said, "Who are you?" She don't remember me. "Last evening I was there, I came into my room, this is what I said, and you said, okay, call tomorrow morning 7 o'clock. I said, "Yeah, now I faintly remember." "Okay, come." But this kid comes in, He settles down on a sofa. He says, dance. She would have danced for about 2 minutes. And the teacher said, I don't see any sense in you. I don't see any potential in you. You can't be a ballerina in your life. Give up. The girl was heartbroken. She's the best ballet teacher in the whole world. And he has said you can't dance. There's no point in pursuing it further. She gives up. Lives a few years, gets married, produces 2 children, goes to another village to stay. Almost 10 years later on, this teacher brings his ballet group to that village. Now he's 80 plus. The girl still has that ballerina's heart. Goes to see that performance. Again goes to see that teacher because she has one niggling doubt and she wants to clarify that doubt. Again she manages to go to him. He doesn't even recognize her. Then she says, you remember that? This is how it happened. Then I had come and this is what you told me. He said, yeah, now I remember. She showed him her album. See, these are my children. This is where I stay. And then I have one question which has been troubling me for years now. Can I ask you that question? He says, yes. And she asks, you did not see me even for 2 minutes. In less than 2 minutes, how could you conclude that I cannot be a ballerina? I don't doubt your judgment, but I just want to know. He replied, I am sorry, but I hardly saw you. And I say this to everybody who wants to be my student. But this girl became very angry. Which means I could have become a ballerina. This guy smiles and says, no, that is not the reality. If you really had to become a ballerina, you wouldn't have listened to what I had to say to you. I told you you can't. But if you really wanted to be a ballerina, you would have said, "Main karke dikhayegi," and you wouldn't have given. Now this is the story of ballerina. Now this has 2 meanings. Meaning number 1, when somebody challenges your potentials and tells you you can't, don't listen to them. In fact, tell them, I will prove you wrong. Second lesson is, understand the impact of the words of a teacher. The teacher said you can't, and that girl actually took it to her heart. If the teacher had said, you have to practice more, but you can, she might have gone on to become a ballerina. Which means there are 2 kinds of students. One student who needs the support of the teacher for them to come ahead in life. Another student who is so determined, this teacher or not, he will learn. See, not everybody can become an eklavya. But Dronacharya says, I won't teach you. And he says, I will still excel, become the greatest archer, and even that will be my dedication to you. This is rare. So when you have students in your class, you must be a source of encouragement all the time. Now that is between you and me. But when you talk to the children, you tell them, even if the world tells you you can't and if you want to, don't give up. Push yourself. Live your dreams. So that is what the story of ballerina is all about. So when we speak about passion for excellence, it's about people rejecting you, you taking that as a motivation to do better, not as a demotivation and stop. That's what the story of ballerina is all about. See, the human body is made in such a way, there are some parts of the day when we are at our peak, where the attention is at the peak all the time. Now this is called peak hours. So my peak hours is, let's say, morning 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. I am at my alert best. My energy levels are roaring, soaring. The most important work of the day, I do it between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. For some of you, that might be your worst hours, dull hours. You know, there are some people before 9 o'clock, if you look at them, you feel as if the world is about to come to an end. You know, there are some people, when you wake them up in the morning, you better have a helmet, a shield, as you go to wake them up. They really attack you the moment you wake them up. For them, morning is not their peak hours. For some people, it is the evening which is their peak hours. This is what peak hour and dull hour is all about. Time of the day, when you are not at your peak, you are dull. Some of you are not able to pay attention now because this is your maybe. It's your dull hour. Yeah. Now suddenly you can't be alert because this is not your peak hours. But with training, we can change our peak hours and dull hours. There is something called the internal clock. There is something called the body memory. Now the body lives by its own style. If we understand our peak hours, let us do the most intelligent studies during our peak hours. And let's do routine, dull, boring stuff in our dull hours. Say for example, if you have to do some cut paste on the computer. Now that does not require your peak hours. If you have to do some work, let's say some practicals in your home, or some file work, some project work, it does not require tremendous intelligence. Do it in your dull hours. That time when you require your intelligence the most, do it during those peak hours. So peak hours and dull hours. Normally every human being has 8 hours of peak hours, 8 hours of dull hours. Find out what is your peak hours. I will tell you what is speed reading and how to do speed reading. Most of us have the habit of speaking the word silently or vocally when we study. So as we are reading something, we are also saying the word. Have you seen this? Yes. If you notice your neighbors as they are reading, this is going on. How many of you work with the computers? Your experience of the computers? Please raise your hands. Others don't do any work with computers. Or is gravity too high around your chin? Okay, some of you do work with computers. The speed at which the computer can process information, the printer can never print at the same speed. So in the computer I can press print. And the computer has already processed it and give the instruction to the printer. The printer will take much longer time to print. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So the speed at which this can process, is different. This is much faster than this. So if you want to do speed reading, you have to stop this. Because this will slow you down. So what do you do now? Take a pencil, put it inside your mouth. It works. Now don't put in something that you can chew easily. Next day you might have, you are also upset, stomach is also upset. So put something in your mouth that you cannot chew, let it be a little big thing. Initially it will be very uncomfortable because you are used to talking. Now when the mouth is like this, you can't speak now. So you train yourself in a matter of few minutes that this is not going to work. So the signaling from the brain is no more to your tongue and your jaw to speak. As a result of which, this goes clamped down. Now you are only reading through your eyes. And you will find your speed will dramatically improve. How is this as an idea? Tali bajao. Good idea, no? Yes. Practice it and see the difference. You will be surprised, pleasantly surprised. Though when you do it in front of others, people might ask, "Kya kar raha hai?" But it's very interesting. It will be nice when you make the children in the class practice this, and some teacher who has not come for this program is passing by, and suddenly they look at the class, everybody's mouth is like this. He might do one counseling to you in the break. Why you are making the children eat all that thing? ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. Don't get so frustrated. Very, very interesting. You know, when you go to IIM Ahmedabad or some high top class institutions in the world like that, this is where they teach this. So understand what we are giving to you in this session. The best of manufacturing practices which can help us to study. The tricks of the psychiatrists in US which will help us to study. How students in IIM study to ensure that they perform well in this particular session. So it is not just some activity which has been culled from the internet or a few ideas which we got as we were traveling together. There is some very beautiful, intense research which has gone in creating this session for you. So be happy, be glad, and take it very well inside the classroom. How to deal with difficult kids. Now there is a way in which I have dealt with difficult kids, and most of the times I have been successful. I do training programs, and in my class there are some people who have king size ego. I think after Aurangzeb, somewhere their bloodline must be connected. That kind of an ego. And in the classroom, I've seen extraordinary transformations. Yesterday, a kid on whom everybody in the world had given up, including his father, who's there doing my program right now. I was asking them, what did you learn in the earlier 3 sessions? I just mentioned to them about tamas, rajas and sattvic that all of us have learned. Then I also mentioned to them about 90% plus 10%. Were you there? Do you remember those sessions?
Yes. Yes.
And ask them, what is the significance of these things in your life? This boy, whom everybody had given up, absolutely rude, absolute misbehaving, he has the ability to smoke right in front of his father who's telling him don't smoke. And he blows the smoke in his father's face. Do what you want. Now that is the boy who comes to the class. His father is doing the batch to ensure that the son comes to the class. You know, something like that. Very difficult. I've seen his parents cry because they are such a difficult son. He says, Naren, the class I realized why God has given us 90% plus 10%. If I did not have that 10%, 90% will end up in creating only tamas in me. Because 90% things are going right guns. So there is no incentive to do more in life. So I have that 10% which is not okay to ensure I don't live a tamasic life. You understand the connection? It is so beautiful. This is one of the most disturbing children I have ever handled inside my class. What did I do with him? First session I told him, I have heard you are a cause of misery in many people's life. I have heard your parents cry at the mention of your name. But let me tell you something about you without even meeting you before. To be such a destructive force needs a lot of courage. This world needs courageous people. We are what we are because most people on this planet are cowards. We don't know how to take a standpoint. Most of us don't have the courage to fight for the right. We prefer to compromise and we pray somebody else should come and fight on our behalf. In case something is going on wrong in the school, I don't know how many of us can actually stand and fight. In case some injustice has happened with the children, I don't know how many of us can actually stand and fight. What is required to fight against the wrong is courage. And you have courage. My intention is not to reform you. Because I don't know your background, I don't know what has happened to you in your life. But I'm glad you're doing my batch because I have at least one person in my class who's filled with courage. So welcome to my course. He never disturbed me in the class. He has listened to everything that I have to say. Because he sees somebody is able to see the good in him. Something is not okay, but you have courage and the world needs this courage. Now his identity has become, the world needs me. Till then it was, I will take revenge in the world. The mistake that we do is attempt to control the disturbing elements. We attempt to dominate the disturbing elements, the difficult children. We punish the disturbing elements. Now tell me, when have you reformed these children to punishment? So what do they need? They need maybe love. They need maybe affection. They need maybe attention. They need maybe appreciation. You know, when they become difficult and disturb the class, enough people give them attention. Like when somebody knocks, how many of us turn around to see? Now we give attention to the wrong. If all of us ignore the wrong will have no power. But we have a tendency to feed the wrong. So when these people commit these mistakes and disturb the class, there are enough people who give them attention. When you scream and shout, those people know they are controlling the class, not we. Do you realize this? Yes. They control the class now, not we. If we can take them aside, talk to them. Not just tell them, but this stuff karna. Some of us cry and we beg, please don't do this. And he has no respect. Yeah? Go ahead. Or we say, Maisa kar dega. He says, Karo. See, for the first time, the thief is scared of the police. The second time, he is a little scared of the beatings. Third time, when he is caught, he himself opens his pant, bends down and says, Chalo. He is used to it now. Now you don't control him anymore. So you would have experienced this with some children. When you tell some children, ऐसा हो जाएगा, ये बोलेंगे इसमें नहीं बात किया, आप तो रोज ऐसे ही करते हो, आप तो रोज यही बोलते हो. And we are thinking dominate, 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 dominate. It never works. That's why terrorism has not been eradicated from this world. You can't eradicate terrorism through fighting, through punishments. Something else is required. However, that is a topic which is not to this chapter. But understand this. Find out what is it that they need. Why do they behave this way? Without a cause, an effect is not possible. And behind every effect, there is a cause. If he is behaving like this, there is a cause. If he behaves like this only in your class, then you are the cause. If this is how he behaves with everybody, then it's not personal. Find out what's the cause. Talk to him, call him, ask him. With a lot of strength within you, say, I want to help you. Can you make him see the good in him? Or can you only make him believe that something is dramatically wrong with him? If you can focus on the good in him and again tell him, this is what is good in you. If you can just hold on to this, you will actually make it big in life. He sees somebody trusts him, somebody finds the good in him. He will stop being the bad or the wrong. In most cases in my life, this approach has worked. There have been a couple of occasions where I couldn't work it. Those people I have requested, please leave my class and go. You are not a wrong student, but I am not the right teacher for you. Somebody else will be the right teacher for you. You are not a wrong student. Because I don't know how to teach you. That's my limitation. So it's okay if you leave the class. I will talk to whoever has to be spoken to. And that's how I do it. Don't do this the first time. Anybody is disturbing, please leave. Then you might see you and the blackboard are there. But you have done your best. You have done 10 different efforts, taken different approaches. Still not working. Then you also have a responsibility to others in the class. So sometimes that one bad apple has to be removed to save the other apples inside that basket. But this is the last option. This should never be the first option. That's why I said remove them from the class. But that's an interesting question. Most of us deal very badly with these children where what they need is totally something else. And once they get reformed, they will be the best students that you can ever hope to have. They will be the best. They will die for you. They will go to any extent for you. They are the ideal people. They never cheat you. They don't know. Children are vulnerable. Vulnerable is weakness. They are weak. They're weak because their attitudes are not yet formed. Their self-belief is not yet formed. They're still grappling. You know, they're seeking an identity. Am I important? Do I look good? Will I have friends? Am I valuable? Will I have a good future? They're grappling with this. That's why the fashion that they wear. Because they want that attention. And they're very vulnerable to the opinion of people around them. Very vulnerable. That's why they wear all those crazy things. You know, patela kapadas. Nowadays in fashion, jeans with windows. And you can't walk behind those people. You are ashamed. That is the kind of place where they keep. You wonder how it is not falling down. Attention. Attraction. So they are very vulnerable. If you can give them self-belief, they go to the next level. That is why that ballerina story, they are very vulnerable. So the teacher tells that ballerina, you can't become a ballerina. And she decides, okay, if the teacher has said that, it means I can't become a ballerina. So be exceptionally positive with them, not negative with them. Now, whenever I take in something, first it goes to my short-term memory. Whenever I am reminded about the same thing again and again, then it goes to my long-term memory. When I take in things in the short-term memory, I think I know, I think I will remember. When revision is done, then I am sure I know it. Because the storage capacity of short-term memory is small, when the next information comes and the space in my short-term memory does not exist, that short-term memory is emptied. That is why sometimes when we read the same thing the second time, we have no memory of having read it earlier. We wonder, how did I miss it the first time? You did not miss it, but it went to your short-term memory. And since enough input was given in the short-term memory, it just escaped from your system. That is why they say repetition is the mother of learning. That is why if I wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning when you are at deep sleep and I ask you, 5 3s are? What is the answer? Now night also you will remember because you have repeated it so many times. You are not conscious. Next morning if I ask you, do you remember? You will say, "Kya main bola answer? Mujhe to yaad bhi nahi hai." It is so deep in your system, even if you are not alert, the right answer comes. That is why revision is crucial. To convert that which is in your short-term memory into your long-term memory. Unless you take in an experience with tremendous emotions, in which case you are repeating that experience anyway over here multiple times, hence it goes to your long-term memory. Say for example, somebody gave you a gali. Somebody said you are stupid. Now that's straight long-term memory. That won't escape. Kaun bola tha stupid? Mujhe to yaad nahi. That never happens, right? Because you yourself think about that so many times. Stupid bola, aise kaise bola, main badla lega. He is stupid. Khandan stupid. Everybody in his family is stupid. The whole building is stupid. Now you immediately create so many memories out of that one experience, it goes into your long-term memory. Because emotions are high, you recreate that enough number of times, it goes into your long-term memory. But when it comes to studies, because we are not emotionally attached to the facts and figures, it goes into our short-term memory, waiting for it to get transferred to the long-term memory. That is why when children study something in school, and when they go home and read it, chances are very high they will be able to remember it for a long, long time. In case they You know, there's something else written over there called preview, study and review. Now what does that mean? If I know what chapter my teacher is going to teach today, let me read that and go. Now this is what I've attempted to do with all of us today. I've said you study what is there. Now as you glance through it, you may understand some things, you may not understand some things. Now if I am the teacher in the class, when you know you have not understood some things, when I explain, your attention automatically increases because you have not been able to understand by yourself. Then when you go home in the night and if you revise, now 3 times the same thing has gone in. First time virgin experience, then a very complete experience, and now a revision. Whatever is essential now will get transferred into your long-term memory. Now this is possible when you live by first things first, first time right. So preview, study and review, if you can make this as a part of your children's daily study habits, don't be surprised if their performance straight away shoots by more than 10% in the exams. We have enough cases of people shooting through in the results purely by living by preview, study and review. What it does is ensures the important things are not there in the short-term memory. I am not depending on short-term memory, I am depending on long-term memory. To give you an example, most of these children who study just before the exams might score. But 3 days after the exam, you ask them the same question which they have answered, they may not remember the answer. They may not remember the answers because it never went to their long-term memory. And if you speak to seniors like your father, your grandfather, what they have studied in school, they remember even today. Isn't it? Yes. Concepts are brilliantly clear to them. They have no doubts on what they have studied. They had less resources, but they ensured everything goes to the long-term memory. They were not distracted in life. So the short-term memory was not overcrowded or overloaded. In today's world, the short-term memory is overcrowded and overloaded. So revision is the way out. Good question. Photographic memory, see, all human beings live through photographs. Everything, the mind actually takes a photograph and puts it inside. There will be times when you would have realized, as you are attempting to recollect a point, what you are doing is you are running through that photograph in your mind. Does it happen to you? Yes. You are actually going through the point 1 का first paragraph, second paragraph मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है. Now how do you know that was the second paragraph? You have a photographic memory. That is why when you read properly, if the letters are bigger, the photograph is very clear. And if you have prepared notes where there is a lot of khich-khich which has happened, when you see the photograph, only the scratch mark appears, for you to recollect becomes so much more difficult. So even if you write in the margins of the notebooks or the margins of the textbook, write in a way where the photograph can be seen visibly when you have to write the answers. So not only should you memorize what is there or understand, but just look at the page for some time and see if you can create a clear photograph. So what do? Let's say in this sheet. Now right now I have a photographic memory of the page, so I can tell you, page 1 this is the point, page 2 this is the point. Because in my head over here, I have a photograph of those pages. So each one of us has a photographic memory. The only thing is photographs sometimes are blurred because we were not attentive when the photographs were being taken. So even if that you are attempting to recollect, nothing seems to be emerging over here. So whenever you take a photograph of something, ensure that the photograph is clear. Then it helps you in life. That is what is photographic memory all about. See, I am also a teacher. And there are some people who perform well who are in my good books. Good books in the means, what does the teacher want? Sincerity, neatness, good behavior with everybody, paying attention in the class. That's what you need. You don't enter the good books of the teacher by giving them gifts every day. Then the antenna of the teacher also stands up that what is it actually that they want. Then you enter the bad books of the teacher, not the good books of the teacher. So entering the good books of the teacher through what the teacher wants from a child. Now the teacher does not want anything from the child for her, the teacher wants enough things from the child for the child. For him or for her. So what is it that I need to do? So if the teacher wants me to sit in the front row, so be it. If the teacher wants me to take responsibilities, so be it. If the teacher wants me to be attentive, so be it. If the teacher wants me to share my notebook with somebody else who is a little weaker, so be it. If the teacher wants me to write more neatly, so be it. So I not only study and do my work keeping me in my mind, but I also realize for me it's writing one notebook, but for the teacher it is correcting 50 notebooks. The easier she can correct it, the fonder she becomes of me. The more difficult I make it for her, the more complicated I make her life. Now when somebody enters into the good books of the teachers, the teacher looks at everybody as the same thing, but because you are close to the teacher, you like the teacher likes you, my attention in that subject increases, therefore my performance increases. It is impossible for me to perform well in a subject where I don't like the teacher. It is impossible for anybody to perform brilliantly well where the teacher or the student don't like each other. Where does your best performance come? When you like the teacher and the teacher likes you. There is that mutual thing like, I want to do well in this teacher's subject. And that is what drives me and makes me give that little extra. And that is so crucial. And sometimes in the lingering moments, there are certain things which is said, which others probably wouldn't catch. Say for example, I do my training program, it starts at 6 AM and it ends at 9:30. There will be some people who will come at 5:15 in the morning. Now, I will discuss certain things about meditation inside the classroom, but because they are there, I might give them some little extra. Since you have already come and the class is about to start at 6, let me explain to you this facet about meditation also. It's not a part of the course, but it just takes them a little deeper into understanding. So those little extras which comes can be so crucial in my interest in the subject. It's not about the teacher being biased or giving some favor. She need not. Rarely does anybody give it. And it's not required. But what is required is that love, that affection, that little extra, that bond which makes me perform better. In fact, I always say this, in the teacher's life, nobody is special and everybody is special. Only then I can become a teacher, otherwise I should not be a teacher. Nobody is special and everybody is special. That's the teacher. See, what happens is, in my school, I can excel with me and my books. But the moment I leave my school and go out, in life, in true life, so much is about relationships. I am first in class, but my parents don't like me. What kind of a life will I have? I come first in class, but I don't have friends to play with. What kind of life I'll have? And then tomorrow when I go to work, I'm not an island who works alone. I work in a mass. So for example, all of your teachers, you have a group of teachers. You can't just come to the school teacher inside the class and leave. You go to the staff room, you have relationships over there. With the children inside the class, you have relationships. Unfortunately, nobody teaches us how to build relationships. So just be alert and understand there is great importance in this ability to build and nurture relationships. A time comes in your life when your money, your qualifications can't help you. It's your relationships which make things happen for you. It's your relationships which makes things happen for you. Something off the record. We wanted to meet Honorary President, ex-President on A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. It took us almost 2 months to gain access to that guy. For 2 months, we attempted the straight route, send him an SMS, send him a mail, etc., etc. Ultimately, there is a young boy called Ajay Garg who has worked with Dr. A.P.J. earlier, who is pally to his secretary who is in charge of activities in Maharashtra and Goa, who said, "Unse milna hai kya? Main kara deta hai." Now what worked over here? So many doors in life are opened because you have good relationships with people. So many doors in life get opened because you have good relationships. Their money, power, name, fame, nahi chalta hai. It's your relationship which makes all the difference. So besides performing in their subjects, they also need to learn how to create great relationships. Especially for those children who are arrogant about their performance. I'm first in class, so I'm separate. I'm the teacher's favorite, so I'm a little different from all of you. I'm good looking, hence all of you are not as good as me. Anybody who carries that little arrogance about them, it's like a red alert for them. Please don't get arrogant. Understand the importance of relationships. And you know, Ajay stays in a chawl. Ajay is 22 years old. He doesn't have a flat yet. He doesn't have a vehicle. He travels everywhere in a bus or in trains. He had to come to my home to meet me. He stays in Pimpri-Chinchwad, but from there he travelled in the train from Pimpri-Chinchwad to station. My colleague Sushant went to pick him up from the station and then he came home. Which means he doesn't have money. Poor. But he's a good student. In one science project, Abdul Kalam had chosen him and said, can you do this project for me? As a result of which, he has access to Dr. Abdul Kalam. So stars attract stars. Remember? Because he's a top performer, he is listened to by A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. Otherwise, we would have never got access. So I get access to Dr. A.P.J. because we know somebody who knows Ajay, and Ajay respects the work that we do, as a result of which we are able to meet him. Relationships, so crucial. Now if I am a non-performer in life, supposing I am living a useless life, let's say every evening I go spiritual. You know what spiritual? Every evening I go spiritual. 2 pegs, 3 pegs, 4 pegs. And then if I ask Ajay, ek din dilana, he'll take me to Dr. A.P.J. When he believes I am a star, he believes Dr. A.P.J. is a star, and he believes these stars should meet. I have great relationship. Then work happens, otherwise the work does not happen. You with me? Now you need to motivate the children, make them understand performance in the class is a must. That is how Ajay gets access to Dr. A.P.J. But then relationships are equally important as important performances. One is not sufficient. Both is required. Like we require twin tracks to a train. One track is okay and one is not. The train can go nowhere. Similarly, these are the twin tracks on which life runs. At one end you have performance. At the other end you have relationships. When you have both, you can go anywhere you want. Unfortunately, some people who only create relationships and pretend to be very nice, they don't have performance. Sooner or later they will fall. Now this is a very interesting question. Now here I wanted the teachers who have come from different schools to meet in the staff room and see if you can create an outline for the students. With all the experience you have of setting question papers and checking answer sheets, what do you think a teacher directly with respect to the subject and indirectly, emotionally and psychologically is searching for in the answer sheets? Like if somebody has written the answers very neatly and it delights a teacher, it says, teacher says, wow, this is beautiful. What I would have given 8 might end up as 8.5 or 9. Because emotionally, this answer paper made me feel nice. If the presentation is beautiful, the important points are underlined, there are no tremendous scratches. So in one answer sheet, there is not, please continue on page number 7. Then I go to page number 7, please follow on page number 3. From 3 it takes me to page number 9. As a student I think, wow, I have given all the answers, sab point to likha hai. Chances are all the points are there, but it was frustrating to check that paper. So even if I would have given 8, the content of both those people is the same. But this fellow might get 7, 7.5. And the other fellow might end up getting 8.5 or 9. So I want every school where in the staff room the teachers and the principal should get together, and I want you to train the students on how to write the exam. Not about the end, but about style. Should it be black ink or blue ink? If it has to be highlighted, what should be the ink? Should you use that highlighter which actually hits into your eye? Or should you use a color pencil which is always very soft? Does it take too much time for the color pencil? So what is the alternative? Should it be a gel pen? Is the gel pen too thin? So instead of using 0.3, should I use 0.8? Now these are the insights which the teachers can give. In case you know anybody who checks board papers, you know, class 10 finals, class 10 finals, can you just have a discussion and find out what is required? Can you also tell them how should their behavior, how should their emotions be? With what frame of mind should the child go to sleep? Should the last thing they do before sleep CID? And then in the night. And in the morning they wake up, obviously they are not alert. And when they come to the class, they are not alert. Pradyuman is coming again and again. And then Daya is coming. Child is doing its best to concentrate. But what to do? A.P.J is coming. So can I train my children? Okay, Friday night, Saturday night, do whatever you want. Sunday night to Thursday night, ensure you don't watch anything like this. And you have to explain to them why and how will it work for them. See, our job is to explain. Even if 20% of the students take it up, that might be the gap between 2.3 lakhs and 9.2 lakhs. Remember that. And they will remember you and say, because you taught me those things, just that 9 mark difference. Imagine in one answer sheet in the board, I get 1 mark extra per paper. And everything can change. Everything can change. So that's why I have not written any answer over there. I have just mentioned it as a point. Now I need the teachers to do this research and find out what is the right way to do all these things. So for example, during the exam time, what are the food which should not be eaten at all? No fried food the entire duration of the exam. Nothing which creates tamas. No vada pav. No kanda bhaji. No cheese. Eat lots of fruits. Before you come to school, you must have fruits and come. Fruits gives you energy instantaneously. After eating food, you don't feel tired. Neither do you feel heavy. But after eating vada pav, how many of you after eating vada pav are at the best of your energy levels? Then Shivaji Maharaj, before going to fight the Mughals, should have said, go vada pav now. Now I will go. What to do? She loves Shivaji Maharaj. Anything about Shivaji, I have to take her permission first. And when you take all these things in the class, add a little humor. Don't say, open your books, write down. No cheese, no vada pav, no kanda bhaji. Okay? You'll feel, really your subject is not interesting. No, you are not interested. Life is not interesting. I think the first 5 minutes of the class was right. What is the future of studies? ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. Bring in humor inside the class. They need entertainment and we need to entertain them. We are not going to get lost in entertainment, but through entertainment, enlightenment has to happen. So therefore, for 2 hours, it is not one lecture. Now and then we have to be free, we have to laugh, we have to feel light. Then the session goes in, otherwise it doesn't work. So you will have to do this work in your school, where sit with the principal, the teachers and have a mutual discussion. What do you think you look for when the child writes an answer? Discuss, find out certain points. Even if you have to invest 2 hours, 3 hours of brainstorming, it can create a baseline, it can create a methodology for all the students, for all the times to come. In fact, the parents will be so thankful to you. Then have a parenting workshop and tell the parents also that these are the things that you need to take care. Even if the child says, I want cheese dosa, tell dosa milega, cheese nahi milega. After exam, I'll give you one huge block of cheese if you want. But during exams, no. So we become a force together. The students, the parents and the teachers, the students have to go ahead in life. They don't have an option. You think you can do this in school?
Yes.
Not too difficult, easy, but somebody has to take the initiative to get it done. I promise you, the rewards will be phenomenal. Flowchart is fundamentally for those who are visual in nature. So you create those flowcharts. Say for example, in a chart you create, okay, point number 1, point number 2, you create a box, you create a triangle. Like what we have created as a triangle in ask over there, attitude, skills and knowledge. First page, the last thing on the right hand side. Is my photographic memory right?
Yes.
Now when I have 4 or 5 symbols like that in a single series, it becomes a flowchart. Which means the chart shows me the flow of thoughts. So if I have to remember in history, so first I make Babur. Then there is an arrow which I make and take it to Humayun. Then I write Akbar. So now that becomes a flowchart. Instead of a series of statements like the first king was Babur, Babur's son was Humayun. So instead of statements, I just make one circle, another circle, another circle, another circle, create arrows, so that becomes a flowchart.
It's also called as a mind map.
Mind mapping, you can call it that also. Mind mapping. Mind mapping is more about big picture. Flow is about moving in a unidirection, which is proper direction. In mind mapping, you can have a, let's say a tree which you draw, and from the tree there are 10 different directions in which 10 different things are going, and everything is put somewhere. Mind mapping also works beautifully well. For some people, flowchart is very linear, you have to think only in one direction. So for some people, flowchart works beautifully well. So once again, the importance of flowchart has been given to us by Japanese, because Japanese people know only one language and that is Japanese. And they don't understand English so often. So now how to show to Americans how to use a machine? So what they did, they started making flowcharts. This is step number 1, so what a man is doing, they showed. Then step number 2, what a man is doing. So they will show through a flowchart, this is how a machine has to be operated. Since they had to make it zero defect, they started getting expertise on flowchart. So we got flowchart from Japan. So in the case of storytelling, any subject that you take, if you can just introduce certain stories. So for example, if you remember, do you remember the size of the feet and this gap? Did I take it with you? You know the size of your feet is exactly the gap between your wrists and your elbows? Check it out. Check it out. Check, check, check. You may not believe it, but check it. Exact. And now I know some of you look at this. Oh, इतना बड़ा दिख रहा है. इतना बड़ा तो नहीं है. And then you put it. Allah. Right? So next time when you go to buy shoes, what will you do? भाई साहब, ये size का दिखा. If that person does not understand, tell them, yaar, keep movement करना चाहिए था. Everything would have been crystal clear. But this is just small detail. Now that becomes a story. This is nothing but nature's science. Now God can't measure every person who's born. So He creates a system and the body corresponds to that system. Like that, there are 10 more details about the body that I can give to you, which will stun you. And today when you go back home, that is the only work that you will do. Dinner from the restaurant. And you will keep on measuring some parts of your body. Now this becomes a story. So when I take biology in the class and I tell them, you know how exciting human body is? This is one story about the human body. Every part of the human body grows except the eyeballs. The size of the eyeballs that I have at my birth is the same size I also have when I die. The only body part which does not grow at all हाँ क्या? Then they go and check. And they look at the children at the how very carefully now. देखते तो eyeball उनका छोटा है कि बड़ा है. हाँ यार. Now their interest in biology grows. So like that, what is it that you can give to them like stories which just stuns them and makes them say, wow. Then your teaching becomes easier. So that's what stories is all about. So don't just give drab, boring details. Note down. Never do like that. Excite them. And that happens through stories. Some of you will have to change your teaching style. What you're comfortable with, we'll have to outgrow that comfort zone. And when you do that, you will like yourself even better. You will love the results that you have. And the children will love the new you. See, we had a teacher called Derek Paul. We used to call him Paul sir. And he will tell us stories. For example, he will tell us about Israel and how the athletes in Israel were killed in 1972 Munich Olympics. And how they created the most deadly secret service in the whole world called the Mossad. And what is Mossad's promise? You kill one Israeli and we'll kill 100 of you. I can't stop Israelis from being killed because it's a big world and anybody can kill. But I will find out who has killed that Israeli and we'll kill at least 100 of you. Abhi kitne ko marna tu maar. Therefore, hardly any terrorist act happens in Israel. And hardly any attack happens on the Jews anywhere in the world. Which means, when you live a life of courage, people will not take panga with you. So his attention is, be strong. That's what he wants to tell us. He'll take us to Munich Olympics, give us that story. And from there he'll take us to Mossad. And all of us are, oh wow, what sir? So 25 years later on, I still remember those classes. And slowly and steadily, I decided I am going to become the most courageous person I know in my life. Not because somebody told in the class, come on, be courageous. He gave us a story. And that created an impact in my life. So when you mold your style of teaching, and just for these 5 minutes and 10 minutes, if you can take this, you will help the students for the rest of their life. To cover the subject, see where you can rush up and create these 5-10 minutes. But please use this time to create an impact in the life of the children. Shall we? Yes. Okay. See what happens to many of these performers who think if I don't study it's okay. I am depending on one aspect which is not in my control. Let's say for example I am an expert cricketer. But a ball comes and hits my eyes. Now I can't play cricket. So now what will I do in life? So when I am a good student, I have performance, I can still follow my passion of cricket. But let me always have a fallback option, not because I am scared of failure. But accidents happen. So what is the point in taking panga unnecessarily? Always have a fallback option in studies. Because it's easier for you to get a job through studies than through by being a cricketer or something else. Right? That's right. Yes. It is to gain a comprehension of the entire subject. So first read it thoroughly, then ask certain questions, then ask people around you. So that is what SQ3R is all about. It beautifully helps in giving an overview of the subject. Yes. What it means is when somebody discourages me, I will tell them, I'll prove you wrong. Yeah. When somebody encourages me, I tell them, I'll prove you right. Simple. Let the students when they study decide, today when I am going to sit, how much will I cover? So if you notice, second page, the last point is, let me sit with objectives of study. How much do I actually want to study? Why am I studying? What is the purpose of me sitting to study? So when I say I will complete this chapter of trigonometry, I do it in 40 minutes, I reward myself with a big break. I take 1.5 hours, it's okay, kabhi kabhi ho jata hai. So don't study with time. Study with the goal that you have. So have a daily goal and have a weekly goal. Sometimes they just need a distraction. Sometimes they just need something else to occupy them. Like we say, no, khali dimag. So need something. You give them freedom, they don't know what to do, so they become distracted. Give them some work. Once again, key points are necessary for me to visualize the whole thing easily. So for example, this is a session for 1 hour, but what I have given you is key points. So if you remember just these key points, like ballerina becomes one key point. The moment the word ballerina comes, the entire story becomes alive. So SQ3R, now this is just a key point, it will explain to you details. Like what I have written is mood, mind and methods. Right? Mind, moods and method, that is how it's written. Now that is key points. Page number 2. How do I prepare? Key points. I think today was a very exciting evening. I think we have more or less covered all the points. And I think this is what, from the perspective of the teachers, as far as your subjects are concerned, the children need in a big way. Now, excel in discussing about these points. You can take it as a one session, you can break it up into many different sessions where you take 5 points, 4 points and explain to the children. But I think this will really increase the performance of the children, which helps them in growing in their own eyes. So thanks for coming and love you all.